Life Audio.
Today on Talk About That, John gets a country song stuck in his head and is terrified of losing his job to a robot. Meanwhile, I accidentally diss Disney and tell the true story of the Old West outlaw who was made into shoes. Plus a conversation about our fruitless search for perfection and our need for authenticity. Today's episode is not sponsored by Waffle House. You're probably here because it's late.
Jonnie, you know it's the favorite part of your week. Let's talk about that. It's me and my friends sitting, having honest, sometimes ridiculous conversations about everything under the sun.
Mostly ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think it's important to note off the top that we are not an informational podcast.
We got some feedback on the last one.
Well, we have a couple of friends who are loyal listeners and also extreme Disney fans.
Uh-huh.
And they did not take too kindly to us not knowing that Walt Disney actually died of cancer.
Right. I'm sorry about that. I didn't know that.
I said something about how he's frozen and did he die? And you said you thought he died of old age.
Right.
And I was like, okay. And then we probably had a jolly old laugh at the expense of Uncle Walt. And I apologize.
I'm sorry, guys.
We love Walt Disney.
I just got back
and
from
everything
Disney.
he represents to the culture.
I literally just got back from second mortgaging my house.
Yeah, you gave the guy $20,000.
So no, I'm not against Walt Disney, and notwithstanding the.
How much you drop on that trip? $20,000. Come on, John.
No 20.
Tell me how much money you make.
Guys, I'm going to go ahead and post my. You know what? Unlike some people out there in the public,
you got nothing to hide.
In the public sphere, I'm going to post my tax records for everyone to see.
Oh my gosh, John! Nobody cares.
No, could you imagine? They would just like to steal your identity.
It's true.
The other day,
just give me your social and then we'll be done.
At a volleyball match the other day, I was like, "Hey, will you watch my bag?" She was like, "I said, don't get into my bag." And she was like, "I'll get your wallet." I was like, "Just pay all the bills, because that's gonna. If you try to steal my identity, basically it's just a bunch of stuff that you owe. There's not really not a lot to steal there. I suppose you could do it on credit, but Jonnie, I don't know anything about stealing people's identity.
We don't know anything about any. Please, if you listen to this show,
we're not an informational podcast.
Yeah, we're not educational. If you get educated by this show, it's accidental.
You might need to be reading some books as well.
Dave Ramsey used to say, and I'm not a huge Dave Ramsey guy, but one thing he said that I thought was always interesting is he would say, "I'm an expert on my own opinion."
Nice,
and that's kind of true.
Yeah,
I think that's a good disclaimer for most shows.
Yeah.
But that's the hard part is shows that aren't opinion shows try to act like they're news now.
Right.
And it's really an opinion show. They're editorializing, and you leave it going, I watched the news. No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
So we're going to say off the top, we don't know.
I mean, we know some stuff about some things.
We know some stuff about some things, but we just don't stop to Google things. Like I could have said into Siri, how did Walt Disney die? And then it'd been like,
but that's
cancer.
part of the fun of the show.
Like, oh boy.
Yeah, that would have brought, look, the part of the show is
You're saying it would have brought the whole show down?
It's the extemporaneous journey together. Yeah. If you were having lunch with two friends, which is sort of the premise of this show, like, do you want to stop and Google everything, or do you want to just flow? Just be there.
People do stop and Google everything.
Jonnie, I need you to be on my team right now. Okay. Because the listener's listening.
What team is that? Are we a winning team, John?
Just team talk about that.
Is it a winning team? I don't think so.
Speaking of, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, speaking of winning teams.
Okay. We're going right at it.
John and I, if we're honest in our heart of hearts, we did not expect the Vols to beat Duke.
I did not expect.
Right.
Thought it was very possible.
You thought we were going to get boat raced.
Here's how I know, because I actually said something to my father-in-law, so I have evidence, and he will corroborate my story.
Yeah.
Right before the game, we were in Bowling Green, Kentucky for volleyball.
Okay.
And we were in a Chewy's, and there was my
John,
father-in-law.
Nobody cares about all this background. What did you say?
Had procured a nice corner booth table where we could see a television.
Yeah.
And I said to him these words. Mm-hmm. I said, "Hey, I don't feel," it's not a prediction, I just don't feel as bad about the possibility of us winning this game as everybody else does right now. I think it's possible because of our defense.
Wow, you're brimming with confidence at that point.
Well, you're telling me, you're like, we knew we'd get boat raced. Look, it wouldn't surprise me if we got beat by 15. but it wasn't going to surprise me if we held them. It went the way I was hoping it would go.
Well, yeah.
Because our defense, statistically.
And I also want to say that I'm wearing a shirt today that says Jayhawk, but you can only see the top of it. This is not a Kansas shirt. It is for the Jayhawk Theater, which I did a show at in Topeka,
They
Kansas.
should really work on that, because I don't know if they know this, but there's a whole nother thing called Jayhawks, which now you're having to disclaim.
Right. I want
to know who owns the copyright.
I don't want to besmirch the Jayhawks. I think they had a kind of a rough tournament because their coach was out of commission. They probably would have done better had they had Bill Self there, but
I have to wonder about that. Like that poor interim coach.
yeah.
Did he feel like he blew it?
All that. Yeah,
Or did he blow his future? Like,
no, I don't think so.
like when everyone knows now you had the one chance with the
What's
keys
emotional
to
for
this.
your kids? I don't know. Anyway, all that said, we're very proud of the Vols, and now they got their path kind of set for them. Now they got to go beat a team they're supposed to beat. They beat a team they maybe weren't favored against. Now they got to go beat a team that we're supposed to beat. That's the hard part for
Yeah.
us.
So at the time of this recording,
Right.
Tennessee is going to play Florida Atlantic on Thursday.
Yeah. So
which
we will
is
know.
no joke.
When this comes out, we will either be in
the Final Four,
the Final Four.
or we made it to the Elite Eight and lost,
Yeah.
or we lost in the Sweet 16. But I will say, making it to the Sweet 16
Yeah.
was probably it's underreaching the expectations of the beginning of the season when we reached all the way up to number 2. You know, we were
Right.
just rolling.
But with our point guard going down.
Right.
And then with that losing streak,
Yeah, the losing
we
streak.
backed our way into the tournament.
Yeah.
Our seed dropped. We kind of were not expected to do this.
No.
And then when you knew we were lined up against Duke, you just kind of, your heart sank.
Right. We were the higher seed that everyone, the first higher seed they were predicting to get upset. And I think that's good for us. And that's why I worry is a strong word, Jonnie.
So you're saying we're going to Chewy's today. We're going to sit in a corner booth and you're going to say,
I'm going to recreate.
I don't know about these. I don't know about these FAU Owls. Owls, John?
They're 31-3, aren't they?
But
they shot the lights out all
the
year.
Owls?
Johnny, they got great vision for the court. I don't know, what do you want me to say?
They can turn their head all the way.
They could see out the back of their heads, literally.
Isn't that where Lane Kiffin coached when he left?
It was. It was.
Alabama
We played
first.
football. Yeah.
Lane Kiffin used to do the funniest thing. It makes him even more hateable. He would draw up a play. You've seen him do this, right? He draws up a play, and it goes in. He sends the play in, and then he sees how the defense is lined up, and then he would put his hands up like touchdown before the ball is snapped. Like I've seen that more than 5 times.
Because he knew he was supposed to score a touchdown.
Yeah, he knew, like when he saw the safety creeping up or the way the guy's eyes were set, he goes, that's a touchdown. And then sometimes it would be, and you just go like, God, I really hate that guy.
That's really, he's that far ahead of you. Yeah.
And I'm not
It's like calling your shot. Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's just so funny.
Hey, I would like to also say that I'm a little upset with you.
Is this about Lane Kiffin?
Well,
Did I go too far?
No.
Okay.
You can say, I like Lane Kiffin now.
All right.
But no, this is unrelated. You brought up a song because you're about to travel to a city in Texas this morning. And that song
The Big D.
is now in my head. And I want to come out publicly and say, I hate that song.
Do we remember who sang Going to the Big D Don't Mean Dallas?
There's no way to know, Johnny. See, this is the glory. No, see, this is the glory of the show.
You just need to let it.
Let's see who we could.
People are shouting at their.
Maybe it was Joe Diffie. What do you think? No, it wasn't Joe Diffie. Maybe
Marty Stewart.
No, it wasn't Marty Stewart.
I don't know.
Surely. Isn't Marty Stewart like a higher
I think
range?
it was like a Joe Diffie guy. He was one of those guys.
It's just like it was that kind of
That
song.
90s country had some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's number 1 on the radio. Here's number 2. It was just like, which, again, I'm not anti-country.
You liked Lil Garth. I remember you
did.
playing the dance on the piano one time. We were in church and you were like, looking back.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the dance, the dance
It
was
was
a
a
great.
crossover, right? It felt like a Christian contemporary song a little bit. You know?
I used to work songs into, like, so in our old days, we have long sort of altar sessions.
Yeah.
And if you're on the keyboard and some preacher has the microphone, which I am the preacher of the microphone, so I can say this, then you're at his complete command and mercy. And if you're like at a camp or something where they're going to want to quote unquote tarry for an hour, great things can happen during that time.
Yeah.
It's not really a lot of what we do now. We tarry more in
We don't
community.
tarry as much.
we try to teach people to pray and spend that time, but it was like a thing of, no, we're going to do this right now, right here, all together. And hey, you and the keys, just keep playing. And so you just have like this hour talking about
vamp.
Extemporaneous. Like you're just like, you know, you don't want to just keep playing the same worship song over and over again.
Right.
Or, you know, so I would start once, and this sounds very just disrespectful and sacrilegious. It's not meant to be. But like, I would work in occasionally just a melody of another song just to see if and it was on me and a few friends. You know, usually they're also playing in the band.
Oh, to see if you could get them to laugh.
To see if they would notice it.
Yeah.
So I don't think I ever threw the dance in, but like I'd throw somewhere out there, you know, Fifle. And but I mean, really draw it out, like just arpeggio all around it where you can't tell.
I think it's Fifle.
What did I say?
Fifle.
Is it? Did he play a Fifle? No, wait, that's a Fifle.
Barney Fifle?
Anyway, it's a, didn't he?
What was it, Somewhere Out There? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. And I did, and I play a bunch of chords around and I just throw them in there every once in a while.
When I was started coming to church here, we had Casey Martin playing. He's a brilliant player, and he would do that sometimes. And I remember one time he was doing, they were doing a baby dedication, and he started playing, dun, 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 and it was like, he was playing really soft. It was like, I was like, dun, 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 dun. I was like, is he playing Isn't She Lovely? And he was.
Perfect for a baby dedication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, you know what's interesting about that song is Stevie Wonder was blind.
Right.
So it's like such an interesting like play on that. He's seeing her with his heart for
correct.
real.
He found her lovely.
That's really cool.
The eyes of a father, not necessarily always physical, Johnny.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that.
Hey, that's a great place for us to just take a pause here to hear from a couple of our sponsors. I wonder what it is that makes a song get stuck in your head. And the deal is, Johnny, I hate that song. It's the songs I hate.
What is it, an earworm? They call those?
Yeah, they get stuck. You
don't want it in your head.
No.
You never would call a good song an earworm. You call a bad song an earworm.
Right. Even a good song, like Sadie will get in the car sometimes. She's like, this song's been in my head all day. I need to listen to it to get it out. That's what she thinks. Listening to it gets it out. I don't know if that's true.
I wonder how many accidents every year are caused by people swerving into guardrails because of the Cars for Kids commercial. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
1877 Cars for Kids. You don't listen, you have Sirius Radio?
I don't.
It's basically just, it's crazy. It's awful.
It's one of these just horrible jingles.
KARS Cars for Kids. It's just their number. Donate your car today. And people just off a cliff.
They're like, I'll donate my car into this ravine.
I literally reach over and just like turn the radio off. I can't do it. I look at Curry and I'm like,
not a sponsor. Sounds like a great cause.
It does.
Well, horrible jingle.
Although I don't understand why it's KARS Cars for the number 4 than kids. Like they got to be like, please help these kids
because they can't
even spell cars. Spell cars right. Maybe C was taken.
I don't understand it either. There was a gas station built down near Stewart's Ferry down the road here. And we've talked about this before, but when they built it, I could see the title on the building before it was open. It was Quality Corner.
Yeah.
KW.
Right.
ALITY. Not only just...
And please tell me corner wasn't with a K too.
With a K.
Wow.
Quality, though...
That's 1K short of being a problem.
It is 1K short of problem.
And this is not the area for that.
No, and you interchanged a W for the U in quality.
Right.
Like you just went out there. But here's the thing. I stop at that gas station all the time on the way to pick up Sadie from school.
You know what? It's pretty good quality.
It really is. It's delightful. They got food people are buying. I mean, they got a food truck right next door.
Okay.
So in some ways, maybe the joke was on me. Maybe it doesn't matter.
Maybe you don't even know what quality really is.
Right, exactly. Maybe they were redefining quality in a way that I needed, and I just didn't know it. But I was judgy, and I looked down my nose at
Maybe
them.
quality was spelled with a K this whole time.
Oh, my goodness.
But probably not.
Maybe Benjamin Franklin's rolling over in his grave. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Is he responsible for the...
I just think that the founders were... They were
sticklers for spelling?
No, yes. I think that they were, you know... I got a great word. Wait for it. They were... acolytes of the English language at that time. You know what I'm saying?
Worked out acolytes.
Come on now. I threw it in there. So, you know, I do. I think when we just keep taking the language and just shifting it.
Yeah.
Like the other day, I needed Sadie to send a text for me while we're driving.
Sure.
And she sent it in like all lowercase no punctuation.
Right.
And it was like, hit me up, or what. It was like, I was like, Sadie, I would never text. You're supposed to text as me. So then the other day I had her do it again, and this time
she's your ghostwriter,
I guess. And then I said, it was like,
right in my voice, Sadie.
I said, how do you get it to do lowercase? She goes, I turned off the auto cap. I was like, you did what? Yeah. Like, I need you to know how. I like to address an email or whatever. Dear Sir, capital S. Like, I don't want to, I don't know. Jonnie, what's going on with the world?
Well, we're entering a world now where that's not going to be necessary for her.
I don't believe that.
You don't think so?
Benjamin Franklin and I have been talking.
Oh.
I think it's going to continue to be important that we know.
Have you been taking your meds, John?
Don't you want to carry on the good parts, the etiquette of cultural
I think there's some things,
engagement?
I'll worry about other things, like you talk about music and earwigs and the way Sadie's music tastes are going to evolve.
Did you say earwigs?
Earwigs, like an earworm, an earwig, same thing.
I'd never heard earwig.
Never heard earwig? Yeah.
Jeez.
It's like a wig that you put on your, no. It's like
I already got a wig grown out of my ear in my 40s, am I right?
Come on now.
Come on.
Shave that thing. Get a trimmer. Get a bush hog. Get in there. No, but I feel like with Sadie, her musical taste, and I was talking to a comedian friend yesterday who has a 3-year-old son, and I was like, you understand that there's programs now, like AI, they've turned AI loose to create music now. Yeah. And it's going to be computer-based tapestries of music. Like, write me a pop song. Like, somebody's already done it with ChatGPT. They go, write an Aerosmith song. Write a Guns N' Roses song. And it'll do it based on their whole catalog, and it'll kind of congeal it into, like, what Axl Rose would have written and sang. And it's not great yet, but it'll get there because it's learning, and it's compounding on itself. So now they're making this, and we already have this with EDM music and dance music and computer enhanced vocals on even pop music, where it's become so perfect. And even when you listen to radio, like I was telling my friend this yesterday, but like I read an article about digital remastering in the 80s and 90s when that became a big thing. Digitally remaster all your favorite songs, digitally remaster. We were like, oh, great, this will be cleaner and better. Well, all they did was they took the highs and the lows out and compressed the heck out of it. Yeah. And so now our ears have evolved to where if you hear a song that has a ton of dynamic changes in it, you go, it feels like it's not done.
Yeah.
So if you listen to the old Joshua Tree record on a vinyl, you'd be like, what's going on with this?
Yeah.
Because we're used to now hearing this perfect, no pitch, no changes. So I wonder and I worry, is the raw, like, rock and roll going to be, like, unpalatable for our ears?
Well, it's interesting, like...
in a generation.
Like, if you just throw on, like, the car I bought, they have, it's older, but it has a hard drive.
Yeah.
And they have Creedence loaded on it. So occasionally when we're scrolling through trying to get to the Bluetooth, just a Creedence song will start playing. And I agree, like when Rollin' on a River starts, it's not like they're not on time, but there's an imperfection to it.
Yeah.
There's a ka-chunka-chunka. Bung, 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 bung. Like it's got a...
Yeah.
It's not like just dead on. Because we've been in studios plenty of times where now, I mean, they take that snare drum...
Right.
And they move it in nanoseconds to its exact center on the beat.
Yeah.
Playing live, you can play with a click. You can be on the beat and still probably nanoseconds off. And you can. That's why good drummers can push the beat a little bit. Like they can actually, without speeding up the song.
You see it still happen too. I was seeing an interview about this in hip hop music. Like hip hop producers, that's a trick they'll do is they'll get a guy to rap on beat and then they'll move the beat back to where it feels like he's on top of it. Yeah. And there's like an urgency that it creates.
Exactly.
A tension it builds.
Get ahead.
Because you know he's going to stay on.
Right.
And then you go, yeah, but I don't love that. So now so if you listen to new hip hop, it's like a lot of people that are ahead of the beat a little bit, or even a little bit behind the beat. You don't want it to be right on because it feels inauthentic almost.
Right. It's almost like we're having to like curate imperfection now in order to make art still work.
Like if you played Janis Joplin for Sadie, I wonder what she would think. Would she go, this woman is, because it's so raw, but that's part of what makes it amazing.
Right.
Like if you listen to a Foo Fighters show, Dave Grohl is not a great singer. He's a great rock singer. Like there's passion, there's
Right.
even Bono. Like
Yeah.
he's not a traditionally great singer. He's just there's a passion there. There's something there that's better than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, I think the modern culture assuming that perfection is the goal
Yeah.
is certainly trickling into all things. Music, certainly. I mean, I love commercials now that I see that just have, especially commercials. And of course, this is, National Women's Month.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a teenage daughter, and I love commercials now that show people that just look like normal people.
Yeah.
It's not replete. Like it's still
Right.
It's still a model's game.
Yeah.
For most things. But you'll see just a person who's not 105 pounds, and you just see someone who looks like a normal human. Because I think that we're beginning to understand that the desire for perfection is I don't know what that is in the brokenness.
Yeah.
Because we've had it since the beginning. That's how we got here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, however far you think things go back, along the way, every generation is trying to improve and trying to basically, even back to the Tower of Babel, like we're trying to go past the human condition somehow to bypass the limitations.
Yeah.
And think about how many limitations we bypass now. I mean, now when Laura was pregnant, I mean, I can see my child's literal face in a 3D image.
Mm-hmm.
I could see what she looked like before she was born.
Right.
And our grandparents couldn't have imagined that.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, our parents couldn't have imagined that at certain points in their life. So there will be a moment, though, I think that we're finding it, and I think art is one of those reflections of the soul.
Yeah.
There's some divinely inherited part of our, created nature that desires beauty, and beauty can't be produced with perfection. And I think there's a rub.
Yeah.
There's a rub there that's happening. You go to nature because it's not perfect.
Right. Yeah, and there's something about it's nature's kind of messy, and when I think about my favorite concerts, there was a raw energy to it, and it wasn't just like a guy hit a space bar on a computer. I'm not mad at people that use loops in their shows as long as there's something real happening. But I just mean if it's all that, if you go to a show, and somebody is obviously I'm really good at seeing if somebody's lip syncing on a live performance. I can always tell. But part of why you can tell is if it's too perfect.
Right.
And so, you're right. That perfection lets you know it's not real. Yeah. And so we reward in our brains, we give a little bit of a reward. If somebody's a little bit pitchy, we go, well, he's really singing this.
Right.
He's going for it. You can see him pull one ear out. If they're struggling, they're in a stadium somewhere, you see them pull one of their ear monitors out and they just really try to hit the note. They put their hand on they're just going.
Yeah.
And then if it's a little bit squeaky, you're like, but dude, he ripped it.
See, I don't know. I think that's only the case if they're established.
Yeah, maybe.
Because if you go watch American Idol or whatever, they're just brutal on you if you don't nail it every night. And the truth is, nobody nails it every night. If you do, you probably had help somewhere, which is okay because you're trying to do this 300 times.
But it's if you go to a show and, but you're right, if it's an established artist. If I go to a show and it's my favorite band and it sounds just like the CD, I'm disappointed. I'm like, why did they didn't take any chances. They didn't.
Right.
There was a ton of loops layered in there. I want to hear because I love when I hear an interpretation on their own solo or their own, or they've added a drum fill that lets you know this is happening tonight in this room. We're all experiencing this together in a different way. And it just kind of is that the visceral experience.
You want them to continue to be creative, not just what they originally made.
Right.
Yeah, I want creativity in your performance of this.
Yeah.
I want to know that you're not stuck inside your masterpiece.
Yeah.
Right. Which people say that about us in this podcast.
They do. They go, why can't you get out of this masterpiece? No one is.
You guys are killing it, and we're getting so tired of the perfection week after week.
We're killing podcasts as an art form. That's what we're doing. We're doing our best, our dead level best. I don't know.
Oh, my goodness.
But
Jonnie.
having said that, if somebody produces AI music and I end up liking it, that would be interesting to be I actually like this piece of music. But there's what is it? Polyphonia. There's kind of they're calling it math rock. There's a guy that plays really well, and they're producing a ton of music. I wish I could remember the name of the Polyphia. Anyway, it's guitar rock, but it's very perfect and math, and it's got synths in it. And Zennials are like really digging this, and he's going viral. This band, but it's irritatingly perfect to me when I hear it. Like it feels very impressive sounding. Right. And it has no soul to it when I listen to it. It does not move me the same way that,
interesting.
Whatever, a song from my youth would. And maybe some of that's just you get old and you stop thinking that they make good music, but I don't think I'm that way. Sometimes I hear something like that was unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
So I still get impressed when I hear a new artist that's really doing something different. But yeah, I think that there's something to like our brains, like you said, we think we want perfection, but then when you hear it, you're like, you need those edges,
right,
to let you know you're still alive and you're hearing something raw and I don't know.
Well, there's a tug of war between perfection and imperfection and in our humanity. Even like when I do, like couples counseling or any sort of relational talk.
Yeah,
it's like one of the things I lean into is you need to learn how to argue correctly, because arguing, which in theory is imperfection in your relationship, like it is so key to you understanding one another. And I'm not one of those, people get out of whack in the modern culture on the, let's argue so we can make up, kind of thing. Like people get really unhealthy, and it does happen because they don't know how to like live in just the adventure of the regular life, and so they have to create something that feels off. And that's a bad pattern to get into. But arguments are going to happen. But there actually could be wonderful moments for you to understand each other. Usually, Laura and I have this like, I can tell, when an argument is happening at midnight and you had a horrible day and you're exhausted and it was over the ice maker. Mm-hmm. It's not a real argument. It's a stress argument. Yeah. And if you can there's a great proverb about the beginning of wrath or the beginning of anger is like the letting out of water. So abandon the quarrel before it breaks out. That's one of those like, there's just nothing good. We're just both tired, stressed, had a hard day or whatever. Mm-hmm. The ice maker is not really some bone of contention between us. You know what I'm saying? So those moments, if you can just keep the water from letting out and be like, hey, sorry, I didn't, it was just tired.
I do think you never want to like minimize, like, I remember a friend of mine was saying that about his wife, though. He said something similar to what you're saying, though, but he went further with it. He goes, you come back and your wife's yelling at you because you put the wet towel on the bed, and she's like, why won't you stop doing that? That fight's not really about the towel. And I go,
I kind of think it might be.
You probably should. She feels disrespected when she's told you 4 or 5 times, don't put a wet towel on the bed. But again, guys, that's just her. That's not really about that. You're like, dude.
That's probably about the towel. Yeah, there are those.
The hamper's right there, dude.
Right, there are some things. It's just like, it certainly is about the fact that she's asked you multiple times.
If you put a wet towel in the ice maker, John,
now
that fight's probably about the ice maker.
It's about the ice maker, yeah. But I mean, it's funny. But there are things that are bigger than that. That how you have the tools to lean into it, because the imperfection of an argument can be a gift to your relationship. It can be something that you grow in, and I think the reflective part of culture that's in art and literature and those things is wrestling big time.
Yeah.
Again, the AI stuff is, I mean, literally, I had conversations as soon as those stories first broke about it. Like, will this put me out of a job?
Right.
Like, could you literally have?
Well, you'd see people writing in like, write a sermon about X,
or write a chapter.
Yeah, it's true.
About this guy's life, just going through the internet and finding all of the speeches he gave or whatever,
and summarize it in a way that no one's ever done, and the machine can do that.
Right. Whew. Right.
What's to say you couldn't use it? And then
that's really where it goes. The diabolical mind, which I don't have much of one.
Yeah.
But I could imagine what the diabolical mind would think. Mm-hmm. So I'm just not smart enough to be diabolical. That's the thing.
I've always said it.
But I mean, I could see you going, what you really could do is, I don't want to say this, because what if this now comes back?
Right.
But what you really could do is have it do that and then you go adapt it yourself. You just edit the AI.
Just take a few sentences out.
Because it's done the research for you, basically, which is the hard part. So please don't take away my job, everybody.
Oh, that's so...
I'd like to keep working.
Please, machines.
Yes. Could you, Skynet, if you're listening.
I, for one, welcome our new overlords.
Jonnie, you just want to be one of the managers. It's not figured out how to do comedy yet.
People have tried, write an original joke about bananas, and then it'll be a really super weird dad jokey thing,
Yeah.
But I think it's going to figure it out. Once it figures out irony and sarcasm.
I don't know if it can.
I don't know.
Jonnie, I've not figured it out.
It's true. It's true. By the way, that band is called Polyphia. I didn't want to, because somebody's going to freak out, because they're very popular.
Yeah.
But they're called Polyphia.
And you're just...
And I'm not besmirching them. I just feel like it's an example of something that's really interesting to hear to your ears, and I can't imagine listening to it over and over again, because it's so...
Yeah.
I feel like there's no there. But maybe I need to hear the right track, John.
Perhaps.
Maybe.
There's a place for all kinds of music. That's the thing. Maybe it could be something you appreciate on one end.
There was a place for our music.
It was in the trash can.
The $5 bin.
You notice, by the way, I have a few CDs stacked over there on my bookshelf.
I did.
Yeah.
We got a few. We should send those. Do we ever send those out to our patrons?
I don't think we have enough to send out, but we could send
a few.
There's actually exciting things coming for our patrons and a whole new
I've already
level.
sent out some things, and I didn't get email. I didn't get physical addresses for some of them because I sent an email to all of our patrons. Many of them got back to me right away. Some of them I feel like it might have went to their junk. So if you did not get an email from me, check your junk.
And you're a patron.
And you're a patron.
It was sent, yeah.
So check out and send me your physical address, because I've got a gift for you, and I'm trying to mail you a thing.
Yeah, you could just email them directly if you want it.
If you want to become a patron, we'd love to have your support. Go to talkaboutthatpodcast.com, where all of our archived episodes are, but also our Patreon link there. We love our patrons.
I'm going to go ahead and say it.
What?
But I'm going to go ahead and make an announcement.
Oh.
It's not set up yet.
Yeah.
We got some work to do.
Yes.
But pretty soon, what we're hopeful, I'm not going to guarantee it, is that
feels like a lot of qualifying
our
statements.
patrons are going to be able to get this podcast ad-free.
Yeah, ad-free. And there's also, we got some other things coming from that.
And we have other things as well, other ways to get bonus content as well that's coming for that. So, interesting. Jonnie, we've been doing a lot of things for this podcast, and right now we're looking ahead. But there is a moment to look back.
I think it's right now. We want to talk about this week in history. It's a segment we call Talk About Then. John, it's Women's History Month, as you know, and in 1900, today in 1900, do you know what happened to the first American woman to what?
1900?
Yes.
Was it like a legal governmental thing, or was it like an accomplishment? Okay.
Both. Illegal.
So it wasn't like someone
thing allowed this to happen.
Someone flew in an hot air balloon around the world or something. You're saying like it's a legal thing.
It was about a conveyance.
1900.
Yes.
See, they're not going to vote till 20.
What do you mean they, John? What do you mean you people?
I'm trying to... What could have happened before? Because I can't think of a legal...
First American woman to obtain a driver's license.
Really?
1900, okay. Anne Rainsford French Bush was her full name. She was granted a steam engineer's license, locomobile class, by the city of Washington, D.C.
Wow.
So it is believed she's the first American woman to obtain a driver's license. Her license allowed her to
for
operate...
a steam train?
No, a steam engineer's license, locomobile class. So I guess that was how they categorized...
Locomobile.
Yeah. Her license allowed her to operate a four-wheeled vehicle powered by steam or gas.
Wow.
Her father was a doctor, and she chauffeured him on his rounds on his steam-powered automobile.
Wow.
He also made her learn how to disassemble and reassemble the steam engine on their vehicle before she could apply for the license. She had to go through some...
Unbelievable.
Yeah, she had to go through some serious training. Steam engines at the period were very dangerous and required expertise in order to operate safely. She never had an accident or traffic violation.
Wow.
So much for that myth about women drivers, John.
Jeez, John.
That you always are talking about. You won't shut up about it.
Oh my gosh. Was there traffic back then?
I don't know.
That's the question.
She stopped driving in 1903, only drove for 3 years.
Wow.
Here's a dark one.
I can't believe you guys, Jonnie was joking.
Of course, it's a comedy.
It's
a comedy, not informational podcast. March 1881, the outlaw known as Big Nose George Parrott is lynched. Afterwards, His skin was tanned and made into a pair of shoes.
Good gosh.
And the top of his skull was used as an ashtray.
What the what?
This is some Old West nonsense right here, man.
Okay, who is this person?
This is Big Nose George. First of all, they call him Big Nose George Parrott. Okay? He's an outlaw. Hang on. Parrott and his gang killed a Wyoming deputy sheriff and a Union Pacific detective who had been sent to track them down after a botched train robbery. This is like a movie. After Parrott was arrested in Montana, okay, well, you're in Montana. This is some outlaw justice right here. This is some serious, tough love. He was returned to Wyoming, where he was convicted of murder and sentenced to hang. While awaiting execution, he assaulted his jailer in an escape attempt. The enraged townsfolk dragged Parrott from his cell, lynched him. Doctors John Eugene Osborne and Thomas McGee studied Parrott's brain for clues to his criminality.
Good grief.
So they saw off the top of his head to go hey, let's see what's going on with his brain, which I don't know what the medicine was back then to even just do that, what the science was like. In the process, they sawed off top of his skull, gave it to their medical assistant, who then used as an ashtray. So this medical assistant's got some...
This is crazy. The guy was born in France.
They then sent parts of his skin to a tannery where they were made into a medical bag and a pair of shoes.
A pair of shoes.
Dr. Osborne then wore the shoes to his inaugural ball after he was elected governor of Wyoming.
Good.
So this is
This is straight up Yellowstone
a plot
stuff.
point of Yellowstone because it's the governor of Wyoming, right? So he's
Montana, I think.
Okay, he wore the shoes. He wore the shoes of a... He's like, you think we're tough on crime?
Look at
Get
this
a load
guy.
of this.
Holy... Okay, This is the craziest. I'm looking it up too. We rarely look things up, but yeah, this guy was a Frenchman.
Yeah,
and obviously immigrated here
up to no good.
And this all
but
happened.
Did he deserve all that?
I don't know. I'm not. Good grief! This is This is disturbing. Yeah, this is one of those we just turned into one of those true crime podcasts.
We did.
Holy cow!
But it's weird though, to go oh, the lynch mob got him. Oh well. Since he's dead, let's make shoes out of the guy?
Literally, it says here, occupations, outlaw and cattle rustler, known for banditry, murder, being made into a pair of shoes. That's what it says. I don't even know.
Oh, man.
I'd like to say, officially as a podcast, we do not endorse what happened.
No, we needed a trigger warning
George
before.
Parrott.
We needed a trigger warning before that. I apologize.
God, this was... But this happened in American history. This is crazy. The Wild West, man, it was a real thing. So.
Okay, well, let's go a little bit lighter.
Please.
A slight bit. March of 2006, the oldest giant tortoise died. He was given as a gift in 1767 to Lord Robert Clive of East India Company. He was 250 years old.
Wow.
When he died. That's a pretty full life.
That's like the American democratic process.
Yeah.
Right.
He was around for the whole thing.
I knew George Washington. I knew Barack Obama. You know what I'm saying?
He knew them all.
He was a very well-traveled turtle. And
I don't know if he knew Obama. He would have known him as a community organizer. It was pre-Obama's presidency.
Right. He wouldn't have known as the president.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
But still, that's something.
That's good. People love talking to that turtle.
That's an old tortoise.
That's
what I talk about tortoises. Okay. The Mobro 4000. You know what the Mobro 4000 is, John? You ever heard of that? It's one of the first computers. No. The Marlboro 4000 is something my dad saved up for with his Marlboro points. Remember when you could have Marlboro points? Remember when we were encouraging people to smoke so they could buy things out of a catalog?
I think you could get an oxygen tank for
you could.
85,000
points.
Got to
save up. So. There was a Corvette in that. I remember my brother used to smoke Marlboro Reds, and I remember he showed me the catalog one time, and I was like, how much do you got to smoke? You really had to put your iron lung in the passenger seat with you by the time you could get it.
No kidding.
Anyway, maybe that was the wrong message to send.
Points program.
The Mobro 4000, though, John, was a barge filled with 3,100 tons of New York garbage, and it began its 6,000-mile, 162-day voyage in 1987 to find a port willing to take its load.
Wow.
New York City finally accepted it. So I guess just circumnavigated. This was 1987. So it's just this garbage barge from all the garbage in New York, not New York City necessarily, but just New York's garbage. And I guess they just were on a 162-day voyage. So it made the news, I guess.
What?
And then New York City accepted it. So what do you do? So New York City still has this garbage, I guess?
Well, surely they disposed of it.
Well, how do you dispose of that many tons of, you have a landfill, I guess, somewhere?
Probably.
Anyway, New York City.
You know, a lot of us guys, we think we're disposing of our garbage by burying it. But really, it's just being buried.
It's circumnavigating.
It's out there.
It's out there floating.
Right. You think
waiting.
The tide will come in.
I think it's almost like it's more an analogy of marriage, because it's like you're single, you've got 3,000 tons of baggage.
Who's going to take it?
And you're waiting to see who you can offload this onto. And finally somebody's like, come on in, like a friendly port, finally, in the storm. And you're like, you have no idea. Get ready for this, lady.
I've been on the ocean a long time.
It's been steeping. This is going to be unbelievable.
Gonna not smell great.
And she's like, is there somewhere we could put it? You go, oh man, good luck, lady.
Yeah.
Hoisting all this. So,
okay.
Anyway, congratulations to my wife, and thank you for so much for being long-suffering. Tightrope walker Carl Walenda, the German-American, from the Great Walendas, of course, the Flying Walendas, falls over 100 feet to his death this week in 1970. There's a lot of dark ones, I apologize. During a performance in Puerto Rico. I did not realize the Walendas had ever had like an accident like that. You know, they're still doing it. It's generational. You get passed down, like you're a Walenda, you're going to be a Flying Walenda, and you got to go walk across buildings, and people they're so fearless. But if my grandpa had died in 1978, I'd be like, I think I'm going to be an IT guy. I'm going to be
a bank teller.
Yes.
Right.
The banking Walendas. A less daring group. Whatever.
And the son, by the way, went on to be Robin, I think.
Did he?
With Batman, yeah. I think that's how it...
Oh, is that the mythology of it?
Do you not remember the...
Was he a Walenda?
I don't remember.
I thought they were kind of a Walenda...
type family.
Yeah.
Because remember, all the family...
Yeah, that's right. They were acrobats.
They were stopping the bomb that the Joker, whoever had brought into the tent or whatever in that movie with... was that a Val Kilmer movie?
Yeah, boy. It was one of the worst Batmen.
It was Val Kilmer and...
of all the Batmen.
What's his name? The Robin guy, who's now on...
Oh, Chris O'Donnell.
It's Chris O'Donnell. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was based on the Walendas. You're right. But again, it's like, if you don't have a good track record as a family, you're not going to get me to go to the family business. If I'm like, hey, this may kill you. This killed Papaw. Now get out there.
I don't know, man. Sometimes people want to honor the memory, and
that's true.
Counterphobia is a real thing.
Would you ever tightrope it up out there? You got your little guide pole, whatever that is, the balancing deal?
I doubt it. Okay. I would do it with a safety rope on me.
All right. The 27th Amendment, another women's history. 27th Amendment was passed by the Senate in 1972, prohibiting discrimination based on gender. So.
That's good.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah.
But again, the first woman gets her driver's license in 1900.
And we're getting this in 1970.
But 1972, we're still discriminating based on gender.
Yeah.
It's tough.
The stories my mom will tell me
Yeah.
about working in a bank and stuff in college.
Not being able to open a bank account. You have to have a male co-signer.
It's crazy.
You have to have your husband co-sign.
Or just some of the
Can't get a credit card until the 70s, right? Women couldn't get a credit card until the 70s.
I think.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know the exact dates of those, obviously. I'm sure that's all statewide, like, things that changed as you went.
Do you think women should be allowed to get credit cards, John? Be honest.
Yes. We really need more female representation on this show.
We need more credit card debt from women. Is that what you're saying? Is that your stance?
I think we should all get rid of credit cards.
Okay.
I mean,
across all gender.
I don't ascribe, like you said, to everything that is said, like from Dave Ramsey or Ramsey Corp kind of thing. Because really what he's saying is just what our grandparents said, which is you actually save money.
Yeah, and it's kind of the only issue I have with Ramsey is a little bit of a broad brush sometimes. So people are in a situation, he's just like, just white knuckle it until you get out of debt. Sometimes I feel like...
Right, there's other paths.
Yeah. Sometimes the banking system, and we've seen what's happened with the banks this past month alone. Like, it feels like a rigged game sometimes to people where you're like, okay, so the rich people can get bailed out, but if you go to forgive somebody's school loans, it's like you're a socialist, awful person. Like, it feels like a rigged game sometimes to people. Or you get in a situation where you just have medical debt because you didn't have proper health insurance because you couldn't afford it, and now you got some guy screaming on you in the radio like, you just need to pay it off, and you're like, I don't feel like that's fair sometimes,
Or the debts. I know whenever we used to counsel, again, kids were getting married and stuff, in the last 20 years, how that's changed.
Yeah.
From, hey, do you have any school debt? Yeah, I got 20,000, 30,000. Now it's like, yeah, I got 150,000 and I have a degree in sociology.
Right. You're in the hole.
And you're like, oh man.
Right.
So like, you're not, unless you're going to go make $150,000 a year, and it's going to take a while. And
Yeah.
it's like an insurmountable. And to be clear, I use credit cards for the points and things and pay them off monthly. Like, you can use that as a good tool.
Yeah.
I just think
I use them for DraftKings and I gamble.
Right.
So not a sponsor.
It's a tool. Speaking of tools, but I do think that I do spend more having it, even if I pay it off.
Right.
I spend more than having the.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt like cash did.
But carrying cash now feels so antiquated.
Yeah. It feels like you're dropping the coin on the counter in Gunsmoke. Ping.
Yeah.
Feels like you're doing that.
Yeah.
Give me a horse and
a bottle of
your finest bourbon.
Right.
Whatever.
Get me the jailer.
Yeah, give me.
Wait, we got.
Why would you?
Because we got to go outside and grab somebody and
then
make shoes out of their.
Jeez. All right, last one, John, and then we got to go. And these are all so dark, and I apologize. This person died, 1687. Jean-Baptiste Lully, Italian-born French composer, while conducting in honor of the King Louis the 14th's recent recovery from illness. He struck his toe with the staff he was using to keep beat. The wound turned gangrenous.
What?
But Lully refused to have his toe amputated, and the gangrene spread, resulting in his death several months later.
Wow.
So here's this guy, just trying to keep beat, trying to honor somebody who had recently recovered from illness, the king. And it results in his untimely death. This is how, you talk about how far we've come. We talk about, people always want to say like, oh, the world's falling apart. It's like,
that probably wouldn't happen.
That probably wouldn't happen now.
Right.
You're not going to have your toe fall off because you bumped it with a scepter.
And in the parts of the world where that would happen, like, we need to keep trying to help because, that doesn't have to happen now technologically.
Right.
Right. But they didn't know.
It's like women that, like, totally romanticize medieval stuff. It was lords and ladies, but they're always imagining they would be a lord or lady.
Right.
They're not imagining, like,
a peasant.
Right.
A vassal.
You're holding the bucket for someone else to go to the bathroom in.
A serf.
Probably. That's what I come from. Those are my people.
Yeah, more than likely we would not be.
And if you like have a tooth that gets infected, you die from it. Or they put leeches on you.
Yeah.
And if you're a woman, you want to own property, they call you a witch and they burn you.
Well, here we go.
See?
It's not,
Anyway, happy Women's History Month. We've come so far. We've come a long way, baby. Wait, that's Virginia Slims. See, again, smoking.
Wow.
Not good for you.
No.
Why would they do that?
Don't do it.
Don't save up your points,
no,
guys.
No. Although the Virginia Slim points, they had a better exchange rate.
Right.
So
that's good.
If I remember correctly.
I don't remember.
I don't.
They still make Virginia Slims?
I don't know.
Surely not.
Why would they not?
I saw the counter. Somebody was buying a pack of cigarettes at the gas station the other day, and I looked behind the counter to see what the prices were. It was like $8 a pack.
Yeah.
And they've really they used to call that a sin tax.
Right.
You know, they would make alcohol and cigarettes like higher to get, it's like a deflecting, we're trying to discourage it. And so they would say, like, let's raise the taxes on this stuff. Even in southern states where is a huge cash crop.
Right.
But now I think we're to the point where like, how high do we got to make this for people to realize like this is not the thing to do?
Right.
$8. I mean, some people smoke 2 packs a day.
Yeah.
That's
almost $16.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Now, maybe there's like generics that are cheaper. I don't know. You guys will find. You guys will find your brand.
You figure it out.
Roll your own. Do something, guys.
There's a lot more to figure out too about this podcast, and you can figure it all out at
talkaboutthatpodcast.com. And we already said that earlier, but go there and check it out. And we'd love to. We love our loyal listeners. I will say that.
Yeah, we actually have another review to read that just came in, a fresh review from one of our loyal listeners.
They're not angry about the Disney thing. I hope they enjoy the show.
You know, to be honest with you, I saw part of this and did not read it all yet. I thought, I'll read that on the air. So this is very dangerous.
Could be.
It's 5-star.
Okay.
It's called Love You Guys. That's the title.
If it turns angry from here, that would be a huge left
That's
turn.
why I thought it's probably safe. Love listening to you guys. Feels like sitting around talking with a couple of crazy friends, especially since I'm originally from Nashville. Oh, nice. I was listening to your March 14, 2023 podcast in the car today. I was literally laughing out loud all by myself. Look forward to a new post every week. Hey, thank you so much for that review. That was from Mama Groves via Apple Podcasts. So appreciate that.
Mama Groves.
If you will go and leave a review, there's a good chance we'll read it on the air. Like, we would love to let everyone know.
Even if it's negative.
Maybe.
We
could have some fun with it.
It's like a self-flagellation thing that we like doing every now and again. We're like, you know what? We deserve this.
Yeah. Well, we
make shoes out of our own hide on this show.
Do you think that where we opened was truly like us acknowledging a wrong, or was it us just being
defensive, like press secretary?
Like was it passive aggressive?
I know what you thought you heard.
I'm sorry that your feelings were hurt. Right?
No, I hope it was a genuine. We love Uncle Walt, and
I really do love Disney. I'm not trying.
You love it more than I do.
I love going to Disney. I'm not necessarily connected personally to the family or something.
Okay. Just obviously, you didn't even know about his untimely death.
Yeah, I just didn't. Yeah,
we'll do better, guys.
We will.
We'll try.
Yeah.
We'll probably still make some mistakes, but those mistakes let you know we're real.
That's right. The imperfection.
We could go edit all this.
Right.
We could go make it a 20-minute show that just has the hits.
You might even like it better.
It might even do better.
But
what would that really do?
What would it really mean if we were successful? You know what I'm saying?
I don't.
What we're doing now is
I have a feeling it would be empty and hollow.
Way more authentic to do this.
Thank you.
Yeah. The tug of war of imperfection. We lied on the imperfection side. I can't even say imperfection.
Wow.
Yeah. That'll let you know. It's very genuine and authentic. So, guys, thank you for the time you gave us today. Tell a friend about the podcast. Send them a link to it, and we'll see you next week on Talk About That.